Hi everyone, my name is Penny and I had flooding in my basement multiple times, unfortunately, and some of my stamps, my old Stampin' Up! Stamps got ruined. So of course they're not on the wood blocks anymore because the wood became moldy. And I'm trying something, and this could work for even old stamps that don't have were never put on wood blocks, like these ones here. So what I'm doing is I would like to use them in the stamp wheel because, you know, especially with ones you can't see through, you don't always get it placed properly. And they're really hard to like stamp twice if you didn't get a good impression. So so far it worked, and I'm gonna kind of show you what I did is I removed this old nasty rubber, and I'm just putting a piece of nice cardstock, plain cardstock in my stamping wheel. And normally you'd have to take this piece out so that you can stamp with red rubber stamps because of this portion. So it's nice when you don't have to do that, and you can just leave this piece in here all the time. So I'm gonna put that in there, and I'm gonna do this with the rest of this set. This is an old Stampin' Up! Set with this little jar and a frog and a fish. I already stamped the fish earlier, and this is kind of how I know how it's kind of works. So I'm going to remove, this is a flower piece, the lid of the mason jar, and I'm not going to have room, I don't think. I might not have room for the stem. We'll see. No, we're not going to have room for the stem, so I'll have to do that one later. So because the backs are nice and sticky, they're gonna stick just fine for the stamp wheel right now. So I'm gonna just press this down, and they're gonna stick just fine. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp these. And it really doesn't matter too much. I'm gonna use a Memento because I know it's not going to, it's not water-based, so it's not gonna bleed or whatever, but it really doesn't matter what you use because we're going to stamp these, and then we're going to laminate them. But it's nice because now if I don't get a good impression, then I can stamp it again and they're in the same place, which is a huge pro to using a stamp wheel or another stamping platform. I used to use the Stamparatus from Stampin' Up, but I just found that it would shift sometimes just a little bit because the way the top moved back and forth, and I didn't like. I mean, there's some good things about it. I do have to admit there's some good things that I really liked about it. That you could move the bar up and down so that you could like do patterns. You could do multiple stamps of something because you could shift it from, if you had one full piece of paper, you could shift it so you could move it down so you get multiple stamps without moving the stamp itself off the platform. So there were some good things about it, and I still have it. I'm not getting rid of it, but I just find that this stamp wheel, and I know they're expensive and I get it, and now they have Stamp Oil 2.0, and it's just like, ugh, I just can't keep spending money, right, on things that I basically already have that work well. But I do find that the stamp wheel does, as long as you're really careful to lock it into place here before you lay it down. I have gotten double stamped sometimes because I didn't lock it into place before I pushed down. You get really good stamped images. So now I'm going to, I do have a scan and cut, but I just want to show you, these are fairly simple images to hand cut because I don't need to get super detailed. And I'm just going to hand cut these out so that I can run it through my laminator. I could run it through my laminator like this, but I want to try and get the edges as close as possible on the seal of a laminator, so that when I cut it out, it's not like opening it up at all, if you know what I mean. And maybe it wouldn't, because I tried to take a piece of a laminator piece off of a piece of paper before, and it completely shredded it. So it seems like it adheres to the paper itself and not just the seal like around it. But just to be certain, I am gonna just hand cut these out. And like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect. I am actually a perfectionist, so if I can let go of my perfectionism and just cut these out by hand, you probably will be able to as well. And please forgive my fingernails. I apparently am old, and my fingernails and the cold weather and I don't know, my older age are just wreaking havoc on my fingernails and my hands, and doesn't seem to matter how much protein I eat or how much hand lotion I put on my hands. They just are not holding up like I would like this winter. So please don't look at my fingernails, and now you're probably gonna look. That's okay. I just wanted to apologize for them if you already noticed how awful they are. And you know, I had fake nails for my daughter's wedding, and that did not help my situation at all. It made it much worse. They looked very pretty for a short time, but all right. So now I have these cut out, and I really like to do more than a few at a time just to save on supplies. But I cut into a sheet earlier so that I could see if this would work. And actually, I'm just gonna cut more down, and hopefully it'll stay together. So this is a laminator pouch, but since I cut it, it's not really a pouch anymore. But that's okay. So I'm gonna laminate these through my laminator that's already hot and ready to go. The problem with it not being a pouch now is that you want to make sure that this stays closed as you insert it into the machine, so that nothing gets like stuck in there. So while that is running through, so you can see it's nice and sticky back here, and actually that's going to work to our advantage. And I'm going to show you what I try to do, and I'm not sure if it's going to work still. So I did this laminator piece earlier, and I want it to be somewhat sticky, so it'll stick to this. So there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can just leave the laminator piece on there and use like a sticky dot, like not a permanent one, but a sticky dot that or a little piece of runner tape. You could put that on there as well, and then it kind of leaves a sticky residue on here, which I have done before. You can see there's a little bit sticky residue left over from one other time I had used that method. But I thought, well, let me try the press and seal, you know, because press and seal has this little bit of tack to it. So I used some liquid glue. This is just old clear liquid glue, but I didn't want to use, you know, the white glue that we use for putting cards together, because that would show, and I don't know how well it would dry. So I used this glue, and I don't know if it's quite dry yet. It did squeeze out a little bit around the edge, and I'm not done trimming it. I'll trim it more when I know it's had more time to dry. But my hope is that it will stick. So that press and seal on there does allow it to stick. So that's like super cool. Now, how long will it last? Oh, see, it's already coming off. I don't know that it'll last very long. Like I said, this hasn't had time to dry, so I'm gonna leave it. Okay, so now it went through the laminator. I ran it a couple times because it did get bunched up a little bit, but we're not gonna use that part anyway. So now I'm gonna trim around the laminator portion. And this, again, doesn't have to be perfect. You wanna leave about, you know, a little bit of an edge there, so it hopefully, you know, does not open up at all. Plus the stamped image is smaller than the red rubber area. So you need a little extra room anyway. So now I'm gonna pull this off, and this is gonna stick right to here. And if you didn't have any stickiness on there, you could use, you know, double-sided tape or something would probably work really well. But because it's got so much stickiness left over from the padding, it sticks really nicely on there. So like I said, you could use some double-sided adhesives. Like you could use this says permanent, and this is what like I said, I've done before, and it leaves this horrible residue on here. It can come off, it can be cleaned off. It's not like it's really permanent on plastic or anything, but that would give you a way to put a little on there and then stick it, and then it will stay so that you can get a nice stamp. You could also use these glue dots. I would just recommend not the permanent ones, so then it'll come off easy enough and it won't stick to everything. And you could actually store them that way with the glue dots on it. If you have a case or a acetate sheet, you could stick the glue dot on there and then attach it to the acetate sheet, and you could store them that way. So anyway, I just think this is a fabulous way to use those old stamp sets that you're like, I don't know if you're like me at all, but I have been doing stamping since the 90s. I think, right? Maybe it was the early 2000s. Maybe, I don't know. But I used to be a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator when I first got into it. And so I have lots of old sets. And, you know, some of them I've gotten rid of that I just, you know, didn't really use much. But some of them, like this one here, you can see, even after going through a flood, I liked this one. I thought it was super cute, and it's still relevant, I think, you know. And but I haven't used it in a really long time because of this nasty foam on it, and then the wood blocks getting moldy. But I think this is a great alternative to being able to reuse these again. So if you have stamps like me that you would like to try this with, I hope you will give it a try, and you know, let me know what you think, if it works for you. So I would say the only thing is to make sure you try to line up you know, the stamp with your let's see if that works right there. Try to line it up, you know, just like you would back in the day. No, I think I got it backwards. I got it backwards. See, it does stick really well. See, that's the little bump there. Yep. This way. Anyway, if it doesn't line up, that's okay, unless you're really particular about how the flower is going to look. But, you know, obviously you want the frog to be upright, so you lay it down correctly. But I'm hoping this works once the glue is dry. So if not, I will just be probably using glue dots on them. But the cling wrap press and seal, the press and seal will probably stay sticky for a while, especially if you store it in some kind of plastic container or acetate sheet or something. So I hope you learned something today. Have a great day, and comes back again. Bye.